guys, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. I am drowning in zucchini today and it's time to do some stuff with it. I know this time of year a lot of people are in the same boat where there is too much zucchini to eat fresh. So what are some ways that we can preserve it? In the past, I looked at zucchini as something that didn't really preserve very well. Sure, I could slice it or shred it and pop it in my freezer, but for our family personally, freezer is not a reliable source of food preservation for us because of how often we lose power. But I've learned a few things since then, and now it's one of my absolute favorite things to grow for food preservation specifically. Before I get into all the ways that we use it, I want to talk about why I do not grow traditional Black Beauty zucchini anymore. I grew this for years, and I battled it for years. Squash vine borer and squash bugs just decimated my plants every year, and it seemed like I would get a decent harvest once, and then once that harvest was gone, like when it was about midsummer, the whole plant would just succumb to pests and even also like a drought, like super hot conditions like we get here in my zone 7B. So I have switched to zucchini rampicante and I will never go back. This is amazing. It tastes just like your typical zucchini, so you're not dealing with any taste change whatsoever. But if you notice how long they are and the bulb end over here, one of the issues I often had with zucchini was if I let it go just 24 to 48 hours longer than that like ideal harvest time frame, it would get so big and so seedy, and I would cut into that zucchini and the seeds, or there would just be so many seeds, they'd be big, they'd be hard, and then what I was left with wasn't a ton of actual flesh zucchini left. And these, all of the seeds are down here, not at the very top, kind of where it starts bulbing, about an inch past that, that's where all the seeds are. So all of this is just flesh, which is, I probably shouldn't use that word, it sounds kind of gross, talking about eating it. But it's all just zucchini, no seeds to be biting into or having to scoop out. Another thing is, look how big it is! How fun! I mean, it is prolific. This harvest, all of this harvest was yesterday. Now I have probably 10 plants and I have gotten this from that yesterday, but we are pulling 2 to 3 plants off of the trellises every other day. So it is prolific. Another reason why I am loving this type of zucchini is its resistance to squash vine borer. Now, resistance doesn't mean proof, it's not squash vine borer proof, but it is the first week of July and I haven't had any issues with squash vine borers thus far. And at this point last year, my plants would already be close to succumbing to pests. Another issue, or another benefit, I should say, is its resistance to drought conditions. So, or inconsistent watering conditions, I should say. So I haven't been watering my garden much at all. It's the first week of July, and just with the rain, that's pretty much all these zucchini have gotten. It's kind of like a really far place over in my garden. I tried to set up a drip irrigation. I'm dealing with an armadillo who keeps ripping it up, so I haven't been able to benefit from that drip irrigation yet. And these are still doing just fine, even with no daily watering or even weekly watering. It's just the rain, and we have gone several up to 2 weeks straight without rain recently, and these were still zooming along. So that is my absolute favorite way to get zucchini. But once again, it is still prolific, just like traditional Black Beauty zucchini is. So what are all the different ways that we put it up? So one way that we put it up is by making mock pineapple chunks, and you can either can them or you can dehydrate them. We actually have an entire tutorial on dehydrating mock pineapple chunks using zucchini, and I'll link that above. But all you're doing is you're basically making a juice mixture out of pineapple, some sugar, and a few seasonings, bringing that to a boil, chopping up your zucchini, and cooking that zucchini inside this pineapple mixture. This is some brine, not brine, but some juice that I had left over from last year's canning projects that I'll be using to make some more this year because we are out. And when it cooks in that pineapple juice for 10 minutes, it takes on the flavor, and it also has a similar consistency, especially if you dehydrate it. My children absolutely loved it, and I didn't tell them it was zucchini. They had no idea it wasn't dehydrated pineapple. It is that good and that close to the same taste and texture of dehydrated pineapple or even canned pineapple. The next way that we are putting it up this year, which is a new project to us this year, is a mock apple pie filling. Now, I know that sounds strange, but again, it takes on the flavor of what you cook it in. So I chopped up my zucchini as much as possible to mimic the shape of apples. And then I cooked it in an apple syrup just like you would your normal apple pie filling. All the same ingredients, except instead of apples, it's zucchini. And because of the citric acid in the apple juice and the acidity of the sugar, it takes care of that, of the acidity level of zucchini, because zucchini is typically a low acid fruit and cannot be safely water bath canned. But when it's mixed with a bunch of acidic foods, you can. So this is a mock apple pie filling, and we don't typically make apple pie much, but we do make an apple crumble and an apple like cobbler crisp type thing, and we will use it in that. We actually have a tutorial on how we use this and how we make an apple crumble. We make it up in a jar so that all we have to do is add some butter, add this, and pop it in the oven. I'll link that above in case you're interested. Another way we love to preserve zucchini is by shredding it and dehydrating it. This is actually freeze-dried zucchini, shredded zucchini. I just have access to a freeze dryer this year, but I have always just dehydrated it in my regular Excalibur dehydrator, and it turns out fantastic. We use it for zucchini bread in a jar. We have two versions. One is like a plain, typical zucchini bread, and one is like an ultra dessert-y zucchini bread with added cocoa and chocolate chips to make it like a double chocolate zucchini bread. It's delicious. It's definitely a dessert though, so we use it sparingly, but this is one way that we absolutely love to use it. We are working on a post that'll have all those recipes that I just mentioned for you, and when that's ready, we will link it down below. If you're not on our email list, you can also hop on our email list down in the description box, and you can be notified of when like new recipes and stuff like that are posted. Last but not least, I like to shred the fresh zucchini and freeze it and use my food saver and vacuum seal it. And what I use that for is just to give me some time for my tomatoes and peppers to come in. And I use that shredded zucchini as a filler for all of my tomato-based projects. I have struggled with growing tomatoes, at least growing enough tomatoes to complete all of the pantry projects that I need to complete to feed my family for a year, which is my goal. And that includes pasta sauce, pizza sauce, and salsa, and then just regular diced tomatoes. And I have struggled. I've never been able to grow a full year's worth of tomato products for that. But this year, I believe that's going to happen because, Lord willing, the tomatoes are looking fantastic. But I learned just how beautifully zucchini takes on the flavor, of whatever it's cooked in, and I can use that zucchini to stretch all of those things. And as long as I chop it to where it's the same type of size and shape as the tomato or the pepper or whatever, or the onion, whatever I'm making, it can go into those pastas and pizza sauces and salsas without changing the flavor of it. In fact, we have a whole zucchini salsa recipe, and I'll link that above, when I used zucchini to stretch my salsa last year, and that worked out great. So this year I'm going to be shredding. That's what I have this out for. That's what I'm about to be doing. And I just wanted to show y'all real quick how this rotary shredder works. I highly recommend it. This was a kind of like an antique that I found used, but they now make them more modern, and they sell them at places like Amazon. But if you are like me and you prefer mechanical versus things that are electrical that seem to always break or run out of batteries or need charging or anything like that, it's going to be kind of frustrating, especially for us when we lose power pretty often. So if you are looking for a mechanical style food processor, I highly recommend this. It has multiple attachments, so you can do more than just shred. You can slice, and there are all of our zucchini shreds. So I'm going to do that with most of this. My children really want those dehydrated pineapple chunks, so I'm going to be doing that too, but we still have plenty more that are coming on. We are still very early in harvest season, so I'm probably going to do most of this for my shredded zucchini. I'm going to vacuum seal it using my food saver machine and put that in the freezer, and we're going to wait till all of those tomatoes and peppers come in, and I'm going to use that zucchini to stretch all of those food projects. Okay, y'all, I hope that was helpful to you. We will see you next time. Bye.